They say time heals all wounds, but I have learned that time does not heal what it cannot touch. Some wounds are too deep, too silent, too sacred to ever close properly. Mine began 15 years ago, on a day that seemed ordinary until it wasn't. A day when the air shifted in our home, and my sister, Eudora, stopped smiling. My name is Kingsley. I was 17 then, young, restless, full of questions, and utterly helpless. Eudora, my only sister, was just 15. We shared everything, secrets, laughter, and dreams whispered into the dark. She had a smile that could dissolve anger, a heart too trusting for a world this cruel. But the day she came home with her eyes sunken and her voice trembling, everything changed. She didn't speak at first. She just called into herself and cried. For hours. And then came the truth. His name was John, a man nearly twice her age, arrogant and rich. A man whose voice carried weight in church, whose money touched the hands of elders. He was the devil in disguise, dressed in Italian suits, driving sleek cars, singing hymns with the choir on Sunday morning. He raped her. He molested my sister. The news shattered our family like a hammer through glass. My mother wept in silence. My father grew even quieter, not from anger, but shame. Deep, paralyzing shame. They didn't report it. They didn't confront him. They didn't even ask for justice. We weren't rich enough to seek justice. Instead, they told Eudora to pray. Told her that God would fight for her. That vengeance was the Lord's. That we must not bring embarrassment to the church, to the family, to our name. John visited one day, bored, smirking, without an ounce of remorse. He stood before my parents, his hands in his pockets, and said with a shrug, "Do your worst." They did nothing. But I never forgot. I watched as Adora's life dissolved into misery and hospital visits as she realized she was pregnant some weeks after the incident. I watched her retreat from life, as if existing was a sin she could no longer afford. She lost the baby in her 3rd month. Some would say it was a blessing. I say it was another kind of death, one layered atop the trauma she already bore. And me. I changed. My heart hardened. My laughter died. I became obsessed with silence, the kind that follows trauma, the kind that hides screams beneath Sunday sermons and perfect family photos. I started to train my memory like a soldier trains his weapon. I stored every detail about John, his family name, his friends, his habits. Not for justice. Not for redemption. For reckoning. 15 years later, I was no longer the boy in the background. I had grown into a man, quiet, educated, and doing well for myself. I had moved away from that small town in Port Harcourt, built a life in Lagos as a data scientist. But the past travels with you, tucked inside your bones, humming beneath your skin. Eudora had finally married. She found someone kind. But the scars never left her. They were just better hidden now. Then one evening, while scrolling aimlessly through LinkedIn, I saw his face. John. Older, yes. Grayer. But still him. Still carrying that smug look of invincibility. He was now a respected businessman in Port Harcourt, married, 2 daughters. Pictures of him giving keynote speeches, shaking hands with politicians, smiling beside his wife, the picture of dignity. Something in me snapped. All those years of silence cracked open like a dam. I started planning that night. I returned to Port Harcourt for the first time in a decade, not to see my parents, but as a ghost planning for revenge. The city had grown noisier, brasher, and more chaotic, yet it still bore the same uneven heartbeat. Yellow buses still weaved recklessly through lanes. Hawkers still called out with tired voices. And amidst it all, I searched for the man who had destroyed my sister's innocence. My first stop was Rosewood Estate, a wealthy residential area where John now lived. I had pulled the address from a company profile he proudly listed online. He ran an oil servicing firm, not surprising, considering the kind of circles his family had always moved in. But it was his new life I wanted to observe, not the shell of the one we once knew. From a rented car parked a safe distance away, I watched. His house stood tall, two-storied, cream walls, blue-roofed, trimmed hedges. The first evening, I saw John drive home in a black Mercedes, laughing as he stepped out with his daughters, twins, maybe 10 years old. Their voices were light, innocent, and it stirred something inside me that I did not expect. Pity. No. Not yet. His wife came out too. Slender, graceful, with a calmness about her. She kissed him lightly on the cheek before they walked in. He was happy. How do monsters sleep at night? I wondered. How do they carry on with their lives while their victims spend years trying to breathe? I stayed in a nearby apartment that I had rented under a false name. Every morning and evening, I tracked his movements, to his office, to church, to a gym he attended twice a week. The more I watched him, the more surreal it felt. This man, whom I had once imagined dying 1,000 deaths in my mind, was living a normal, untouchable life. But I wasn't interested in vengeance born of chaos. No, I wanted him to understand. To know. To feel the depth of what he had done. Although I had left Port Harcourt 10 years ago, I still know where and how to get certain things. I bought the gun on a Tuesday evening from a bunk. Bunk is a name we use to refer to a discrete area in the hood where you can get anything illicit you want. It was cold, heavy, and surprisingly clean. The seller didn't give me any lecture. Just asked if I knew what I was doing. I said yes, though in truth, I had no idea. All I had was fire, quiet, steady fire that had burned for 15 years. And I was finally ready to let it out. But even as I planned the moment, something strange began to happen. I started dreaming of Eudora again. Of the night, she told me what happened. Her sobs. Her shame. The blood. I dreamt of my parents too, my father's bowed head, my mother's hollow eyes as she forced Eudora to swallow the pain in the name of dignity and religion. The final day came with perfect weather, a soft evening breeze, the smell of rain somewhere in the distance. I wore a brown t-shirt, looking like a delivery person. I had prepared a small package, nothing suspicious, just enough to get me past the estate security to his doorstep. The security man glanced at me lazily and waved me in. I stood at the door of John's home, heart thudding beneath my uniform. The sound of laughter filtered through the living room, innocent, unsuspecting. I could hear his daughters giggling over something, their mother speaking softly in the background. For a moment, I hesitated. Not from fear, that part of me had died years ago. It was something else. I knocked. John answered the door. He wore a loose-fitting t-shirt and shorts, his hair slightly damp as if he had just come from a shower. For a heartbeat, he looked at me with no recognition. Just another man in uniform, carrying a small brown package. Yes, he asked. I cleared my throat. Delivery for Mr. John, he squinted, probably trying to remember if he had ordered anything. From where? Fast Rider Logistics, sir, I lied. He collected the package and turned to go. Can I get some water, please? I requested. Sure, come in. I walked into the living room, carrying more than just the gun, safely tucked in my jeans. I was carrying every silent scream, every tear my sister shed alone in the night, every moment my family lived under the burden of forced silence. His daughters were curled up on the sofa, watching a cartoon. His wife looked up from the dining table, smiled briefly, and returned to her task. The normalcy of it all almost broke me. As he returned with a glass of water, I stepped back and pulled out the gun. Time stopped. He froze, blinking rapidly as the cup slipped from his hand and shattered on the floor. At first, I saw confusion, then shock, and then fear. "What is this?" he said slowly. I stepped forward, calm, controlled, the barrel steady in my grip. "Do you remember me, John?" He looked at me closely, and then I saw the moment it clicked. His lips parted, and his face paled. "Wait. Kingsley. Kingsley." His wife looked up again. The girls looked up. Silence fell like a curtain. "Yes," I said, my voice steady. "Kingsley. Adeora's brother." I saw it then, the way his knees weakened, the way his arrogance drained from him like air from a punctured tire. He knew. He remembered. "I can explain," he began, raising his hands. "Explain to them," I said coldly. "To your daughters. To your wife? Explain what you did to my sister." His wife took a step forward, confused. "What's going on?" I kept the gun aimed directly at his chest. 15 years ago, this man raped my sister. She was 15. He left her pregnant, and he walked away. My family was too ashamed to speak. Too weak to fight. But I didn't forget. His wife gasped, stepping backward, her hand flying to her mouth. "No, that can't be true," she whispered. I turned to her, not in anger, but in conviction. "Ask him. Look at his face. He knows it's true." John had begun to tremble. His mouth opened, but no words came. For the first time, I saw him stripped of all power. Not a man, but a coward. A predator whose past had come home to collect. "Please, don't do this in front of my children," he begged. "You should have thought of that before you destroyed someone else's," I said. His daughters clung to each other, watching in horror, their innocence collapsing by the second. His wife fell to her knees, crying and pleading. "Kingsley, please," John's voice cracked. "Don't kill me. Please." I tightened my grip. The moment was here. The moment I had dreamt about 1,000 times. And yet, Adora's face flashed in my mind, not the broken girl he left behind, but the woman she had become. The woman who clawed her way back to light. The woman who survived. Would killing him bring peace? Or would it simply make me like him? I lowered the gun. "No," I said quietly. "I want you to leave. I want you to sit in this house and explain to your daughters the kind of man you really are. I want your wife to look at you and remember this moment for the rest of her life. You don't deserve a quick escape." He collapsed onto the floor, weeping. I turned and walked out, the gun still in my hand, but lighter now. I didn't look back. I walked away quietly, feeling as though I had just shattered a glass wall that had stood in front of me for 15 years. Every step I took was deliberate, heavy with the echoes of what I had left behind. Back at my apartment, I placed the gun on the table. I stared at it in silence. It had served its purpose, not to take a life, but to confront it. To make him bleed truth in front of those who saw him as honorable. I could only hope they never saw him the same way again. I didn't sleep that night. My mind replayed everything, his crumbling face, his daughter's horrified eyes, his wife's broken sobs. I had delivered justice, but not vengeance. I wasn't sure if it was mercy or weakness. But something told me it was the right choice. 3 weeks after I returned to Lagos. It was early afternoon when my phone rang. A number I didn't recognize. I picked up cautiously. "Is this Kingsley?" a woman's voice asked. "Yes." "Who is this?" "This is Mary, John's wife." I felt a chill run down my spine. For a second, I considered hanging up. But something in her tone stopped me, steady, not angry, not fragile. "I found your number," she continued. "It took me some digging, but I needed to speak with you." There was a long pause. I heard her breath catch before she said, "I want to know the full truth. Not what you said that night, the full story. Please." "I am not in Port Harcourt anymore," I said. "I know," she replied. "I am in Lagos." I agreed to meet her. When we met, she looked different, drained but composed. She sat across from me, her hands folded tightly. "Tell me everything," she said. And so I did. I told her about my sister, Eudora, how young she was, how trusting. I told her how it all happened according to my sister, how he threatened her into silence, and how he insulted my family. How the pregnancy nearly broke her. I told her how my parents chose shame over justice, and how John had asked my parents to do their worst. Mary said nothing as I spoke. Not a word. But her eyes never left mine. When I finished, she looked away for the first time. Her voice, when it came, was like gravel scraping against glass. "He told me it was a lie. He said you were trying to blackmail him. But now I see it in your eyes, this isn't a performance. You came to destroy him, not gain from him." "I came to kill him," I said. "But I saw your girls, I saw you, and I knew deep down, that is not what Eudora would want me to do." She nodded. Then her lips trembled. "I filed for divorce," she said. "I left the house a week after your visit. The girls, they are confused, but I will tell them the truth, what they need to know. The rest, they will come to understand in time." As for John, her voice cracked. "He hasn't come out of the bedroom since that night. He stares at the wall like he's been emptied out." I didn't respond. What could I say? She rose. "You didn't just change his life. You changed mine. I don't know whether to thank you or to mourn the man I thought I married. But whatever happens now, I see clearly. That matters." And with that, she left. I watched her walk away, and for the first time in years, I felt a piece of the burden lift. Not gone, never gone, but lighter. I thought about Eudora. When I called her, she didn't ask for details. She only asked me one question. "Did you kill him?" "No," I said. She was silent for a while. Then, softly, "Thank you," she said. "Not thank you for sparing him. Thank you for not becoming someone she no longer recognized." Justice had not come through courts or headlines. It came through truth. And truth, when spoken aloud, is louder than any gunshot. If you enjoyed this story, kindly like and share it. Subscribe to this channel and tap on the notification icon to enjoy and get notified when a new story drops every day.